Hello everyone, this is Tails. This is my first speed run of building a house in The Sims. I actually spend more time on Twitch than on YouTube, but one of the things that I wanted to do is trying to do more videos. I've recently been watching another creator known as Deligracy, and I thought, actually, you know what, let's have a go. So, I only have the expansion packs. I don't have any of all the game packs or stuff packs, so it does limit me in what I have available. So what I'm going with this is I'm going for a bit of an industrial styled house. I was wanting to have something which was a bit in keeping with the other houses in the area. It didn't look too out of place, but also had a bit of a different vibe to it. So one of the things that I've done is this basement sort of outdoor area. The design of the house is very, it's a bit sort of upside down. So all the living area is down on the ground floor or in the basement. But yeah, so at the moment I'm just trying to work on this outside. Now, the outside isn't the most exciting, it is just a box, but that's what I was going for. I was thinking like old style warehouses where it is literally just a box. Now, I have added on this extra room so that I had a bit more space. Eventually that actually becomes my office, the office for it. So I haven't got anything like a money that cheats. It's just a case of I went into build mode and made a decision as to what I was going to do. So at the moment I'm trying to get it so it feels like it works with what's available. So I wanted to have a lot of glass in it. With glass, what I really like about it is how light and airy and how you can actually go into the outdoors and bring it in with you. So one of the things that I'm really interested in is if you go over to places in Europe, a lot of the Mediterranean countries, you get vines and things going up and climbing up everything. And I just think it gives this lovely dappled light effect. What you will notice in a minute is actually I go back through to try and give the bits on top which are going over the pagoda, I'm taking away some of it so it has a bit more of a dappled light. The outside I've gone with a brick. You find a lot of warehouses obviously have a lot of brick, and then inside I've been looking at a lot of things on Pinterest, and on Pinterest when I'm looking at them you find that there's an awful lot of houses whereby you've got this mezzanine level, especially in the industrial style, so that you can have that giant ceiling and you can look all the way up. So at the moment I've put the staircase in so it's at the back, and then I realised that actually I was going to have my living space downstairs and I was going to have a bedroom or two upstairs, and it just didn't work with the staircase. So you will see me actually switch it round at some point. Currently obviously it's there, lights going in just because it means I can see what I'm doing. I also wanted to have not just square rooms, so obviously the building in itself is quite square and it's a bit dull, whereas I do like this use of like triangular rooms. So what I've ended up doing, this is the bit where I'm struggling with my windows ever so slightly and I've had to make it look slightly different. I was originally, you can see I've got a tiny little room down there next to what is going to be the bedroom, and I decided that was going to be an ensuite and thought, nah, it'll be fine. I've got two bedrooms and actually I only need two bathrooms, so it's all good. Up on the top floor, the corner off the room which I've cut off towards the entrance, that is going to be a bathroom. I'm currently wanting to have like some dark wood, and I'm trying to decide what sort of wood to have on this wall because I'm going to make it so it looks like it's got a bookcase wall, so it's sort of like this interesting feature. Obviously you don't have ladders that can go up, the slidey ones which I always think are really fancy and pretty looking, but you know, that's just the ideas there. You I've also had to change the window upstairs. The reason I've put the ones with the metal going across is the idea of they're a little bit less obvious, but yeah, that doesn't really work. Yes, so got my bathrooms, at least the main walls, out of the way. This is my attempt at doing the kitchen. So I'm not very good at currently using all of the different tools that are available. And by that I mean using Alt and being able to rotate everything freely. So this has been a little bit of a learning curve as to what I can and can't do. This doesn't work. I could not find a way for it to look good, so I completely changed it and put the whole kitchen underneath. So that solved the whole problem because, well, it didn't matter. The island, I decided to have an area for them to sit around one side, and then I was going to have the sink in the middle. But you might be able to notice that actually the grey, which extends out the seating area, sort of cuts off and then it joins up to the just standard counters. So I will eventually do something to fix that. At the moment I'm just trying to... I was a bit confused by the colours. I didn't realise that the wall cupboards were a different colour to the floor normal counters. So, but that's okay. The living room. So I was having a look at the space and I realised that the living room wasn't really going to fit. So I've extended it out a little bit, but it meant it had this weird little extra which didn't quite work. And this is, remember, the section where I remember I can actually grow and shrink different objects, which was quite useful to remember actually. So it's adding a bit more greenery. It's making it look less weird that I've done this extension. And I've got the extra lighting by putting in those giant windows. Really like having the big windows. So I'm wanting to add a bit of colour. At the start I'm going with these pinks and purples and I'm trying to make it fit and work, and I do eventually change it because it didn't feel right. I mean, I'm sure there's other people who could have got it to work, but I wasn't feeling it all that much. You'll also notice I've got some windows going into the bedroom. And the reason for this is, whilst I did in the... originally, obviously, I was going to have a little ensuite. And so the room would have had no light going into it. So I've actually looked in quite a few different buildings where internal windows are being used so that you can share the light around more easily. And because they're so high up, they're going to actually get the light, but if it was a real house, you wouldn't have people being able to realistically look in unless they were to stand on the staircase and stare, but you'd probably get some curtains or blinds. Obviously, doesn't matter too much. They're Sims, so I don't think anyone cares. This is me putting in some different wallpaper. So some people do it room by room, and I did try to do that, but I'm just a bit haphazard with the way I do things, because I'll go through something and then I'll decide this works better here. So when I'm watching like Deligracy, for example, she'll go through and she seems to do all of the wallpapering, everything, and then she'll do one room at a time. I'm too hapdash and all over the place to be able to do that. So I just, yeah, go with it and go a bit mad and a bit crazy. So this is my attempt at trying to figure out what I'm going to put in between. I wanted something a little bit tall that I could slot between the two, like a divide. I couldn't have put a wall in because that's what I did have a look, because I didn't want to push it back any further, but walls can only be built on the solid lines. So I came up with this instead. It's not perfect by any means, but it sort of works. So what I've done is I have put the plants and I've done it all the way across the centre of the table, just so that change in size doesn't look quite as weird. I did realise that I hadn't quite got it right and had to do some readjustments, make it look as even as possible, but I quite like the effect of it, you know. I'm sure other people, again, could do something better. But for a first attempt, I'm quite chuffed with it. So after this, we are going to go... Well, I don't know. I could go anywhere with this, if I'm honest. Oh, I realised I couldn't actually get out into my outdoor area, because that would be clever. And obviously the final thing in your main living area is somewhere to actually sit and eat. I do like a nice dining table, and one of the things I liked about this one is it's got sort of the ironwork in terms of how it's been made with the wooden top, which I felt went quite well with this industrial feel that I was going with. Need some outdoor flooring. I'll be honest, I don't even know what I'm thinking half the time when I'm doing these. So, bathrooms, I've been looking at a lot of the ones which are grey and black. I think they can look really smart. I know they're not everyone's cup of tea, but I really like them. And recently I looked at a bathroom on Pinterest which had these white tiles all around, and it just looked really smart. So that's what I decided to go with. I just like that bathtub. It's just really simple. Yeah, that's basically it. I just really like the bathtub, so that's why I chose that one. So I'm working through the mirrors. That's possibly one of my favourite mirrors at the moment. It's just really well designed, and now I'm trying to add in a few extra features, you know, the sort of things you'd actually have in a bathroom if you were going to use it. So your toilet roll, your towels. In actual fact, I do get rid of the towels, but that's only because I decide to put in some shelves, as you can see. And it's not the shelves that I have the issue with. It's this trying to hang the robes underneath it. It just ends up a bit too close to the door. So if you were to walk in, you just go, ah, robes. So I moved it across. We're going to pretend the towels are there. And I do now know how to make objects lift up. So these objects which wouldn't normally be able to sit on shelves, I can now make sit on shelves, which makes me so happy, because I kept seeing it in other people's videos. I was thinking, how on earth have you managed to do this? So this bit, I wanted some artwork. I like the fact that I've actually put it down the staircase. Again, this is something I stole, and I don't know why, with the plants under the stairs, I hadn't thought about putting a cluster of them before. I think it's because up until recently, I've really, really, really been stuck on using the auto placement, whereas this was probably one of the first times I really had a go at not sticking within the lines with using move objects and the cheats. So this is my upstairs bathroom. You can't just have a bathtub. You just can't. So this is my upstairs bathroom, which does have the shower in. Obviously, my thought process with the window is that it's got the lines going across, so no one's actually going to be able to see in. The door is made of glass. Yes, I do know that, but they're Sims. To be fair, as long as they're a door, they don't actually care too much, which is always useful. So we're going on to the master bedroom. I want to have a bit of colour in it because it is a bedroom, and I ended up picking this blue wallpaper, and I wanted a nice fancy bed. They don't really have any other beds which were the style I wanted, so I quite like the four-poster. I thought it added a bit of softness to the room, and especially with the curtains, which obviously drape down. So with such a hard design, a bit of softness is good. Some nice soft furnishings. The end, I wanted them to be able to go out from their bedroom into the outside space. This is the bit where I remembered that I could move things around again. So that's why I've got the two tall windows, the door, and it just ended up with that weird space above it. So that's why I put a picture. I wanted something colourful to go in and make it look interesting. Well, this was a ball ache. I wasn't very good, and I got really irritated because I shrunk the cabinets, what ended up happening is if I was to place the light on the cabinet, it would then go and sit at the height that it should naturally, and I couldn't then lower it because as far as it was concerned, it was on top. So for me to actually get this right, I basically faffed and faffed and faffed until eventually it looked like I had my lights on my two tables, and thank God, because it was getting irritating. Again, another rug, add a bit more colour. They've already got the the wardrobe, chest of drawers in there, but I just liked having the little console table somewhere else for them to put a few things. And this is the part where I realised I haven't done any lights. And this was also the part where I realised that when you put these up, where it naturally went up to that level where you could just see the bottoms coming out of the cupboard. And it just made me think of normal spotlights you sometimes have in kitchens. So that was a really nice, happy accident, which I will be repeating and doing again. You might notice... Oh, what we do? We're going upstairs. So I wanted a nice light. I need some more lights. The only thing with the version of the game I've got at the moment, I only have expansions. And I look at other people's builds and see all the different things that they've got. There are some beautiful lights, and I do not have many of them, and I want more. What I really want is to be able to properly do pendant lights as your bedside tables. I think it's such a nice design where you've got your bed, you don't actually have a bedside table. What you actually have is just a pendant light either side, and I think it's just such a nice way of doing it. Husband hates it. I like them. So I didn't know what to do with this room, and I decided it's going to be a kid's room. I went with the blue, and mainly because I actually just really liked the wallpaper, and I've never really used it very much. And I saw someone use it, but in the purple, and I thought, oh, let's have a look. I think that's one of the best things when you're watching people is you actually find some of the furniture you've not seen before. Now, this looks weird. I'm using countertops, but there is a reason for it. If you go into a kid's bedroom, often you'll find that they'll have loads of storage to put all of their toys. Now, I know you've got the box, but it doesn't really look like they've got that much space. So that's why I've ended up having these two technically kitchen cupboards, which are meant to be like their wardrobe space / toy storage where they probably shove everything when it's messy. And it also meant I was able to put the shelves in between, which I think look really nice, and then the toys on top. So you've got a nice selection there. I do eventually get rid of the height thing. I couldn't make it in such a way that made me happy. I was thinking about it. I wonder if I could have made it larger. And then we've got this tiny little room here, and I just decided that if I was to have a sim in here, so I've now got a backstory. This was the point where I started thinking about who might live in it. And I've gone with an architect, father with his child. Don't ask me why that came to mind, but that was exactly what I went for. So that's why the pictures are the ones which have that sort of architect style to it. And it would explain why the house is a bit, it's not just an old house. It's interesting. It's got a bit of randomness to it. And in a normal house you wouldn't have an underground seating basement area. I felt that would be something that maybe an architect would put in. I was thinking I don't know if anyone watches Grand Designs. We have it over in the UK, and they do have an Australian version, which I do quite enjoy. They have some beautiful stuff, such different styles. And so I've seen a few where they have like a basement garden. So that's why this was the idea that I went with. Now I'm trying to put in something for the kids and decide it looks stupid. There's just not enough space. If the kids want to have some outdoor, we'll put it upstairs. And I wanted a water feature, but having that row of those water features just did not work. So again, that was the moment I remembered I could enlarge, and it looks so much better having the 3, because then you're just going to have this beautiful wall of wall which you'll be able to look out of whilst they're in the living room, which will just be really therapeutic and nice. You know, have some music, have a glass of wine, just watching the water flow. And then this bit, you know, it's only a little corner, but I felt this is where, you know, the father's going to be sitting at night, so he can just come out of his bedroom, just sit there, chill, enjoy it. You know, even if it's raining, it's covered by that office room, so he's not going to be getting wet. And then this is the bit which I struggle with most of all. I am terrible at designing the outside. It just looks a bit rubbish. So the steps up to the house, I did steal that from Deligracy. I didn't know how to do it. I looked at it. I thought it was pretty. And this is possibly some of the only time I ever used the terrain tool. So these are the final pictures. Next time I won't do it whilst I'm in buy mode, because that was a bit of a silly idea. But I hope you've enjoyed the video. Obviously, I have talked an awful lot. If you have any feedback, please feel free. I also stream on Twitch, Tails53. Subscribe if you have enjoyed, and let me know if there's anything you'd like me to do next time.